So I was just here researching and looking at people's predictions on what is slated to be released at Apple's WWDC 2022 event, which is slated to begin on June the 6th. We're not that far off from it. It's a whole week-long event where Apple executives, developers, and tech geek and nerds alike come together and discuss new ideas for future releases, but more importantly, leaks and rumors point at hardware releases this time around. Traditionally, WWDC is only focused on the development side, so think about your software like iOS, watchOS. But I am very, very excited to bring you guys not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 things we can expect from Apple's WWDC event. Now, of course, I'm just some guy on the internet, so my predictions may be completely flat out wrong, but it's still fun to share these ideas with you guys. So not gonna waste any more time, let's go ahead and roll that intro. Alrighty guys, just like I said, I just wanted to have a little fun. This is the first time I ever do a kind of prediction video, especially when it pertains to WWDC. But after the event, I do plan to release an update video on what I did get correct. But ultimately, we may get some surprises along the way, and I'd love to share those with you guys. So before we begin, let's take a closer look at the invite, as historically, Apple's invites give us small hints and clues as to what will be released. So if we look at this year's WWDC invite, it's just a Swift logo. And for those that don't know what Swift is Apple's own programming language. So over the years, Apple has really pushed younger people to learn how to code and develop applications. So it's very evident that this time around, it is going to be half developer focused. But like I said, all these leaks and rumors point to some hardware releases. So we can expect plenty of Swift improvements, including Swift 6.0 and Xcode 14. What I'm expecting is that at the very beginning of the presentation, a sizable chunk of it is going to be comprised and dedicated to the development side, specifically on Swift. So we can expect a ton of new features, new APIs, and what would be really cool is if we got more supported platforms like on Windows. This would allow a whole different audience of tech nerds to also be included into Apple's ecosystem without having to use Apple hardware. There's a ton of my tech brothers out there who are very talented and experienced with coding, they just don't happen to use Apple products. So that would be really, really cool. Although knowing Apple, I don't know if that's a likely possibility. The second thing that I'm expecting to be released is the mandatory software updates. I'm talking about iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, macOS, and of course the most important and most popular of all, tvOS. So this is a given. I give this a 100% likelihood of happening. It happens every single year where our OSs get updated. And there are those people who refuse to upgrade their OS for some reason. I really don't understand the reasoning. You probably should update. Honestly though, this time around, there's very few leaks and rumors about the actual software upgrades and implementations to the new OSs. What I would like to see is better widgets. That way we can customize our iPhones just like Android phones. Now don't get me wrong, Apple did start on the right foot by allowing widgets and allowing us to edit them on our home screen, but it still seems kind of limiting. If you look at some Android phones, some Google phones, the customization on some people's home screens is immaculate. They really make it their own. And on Apple's phones, it just seems like everyone has the same exact home screen. So some tweaking to the widgets here and there would be really nice. I would personally love a control center widget. So instead of having to stretch my thumb all the way up to the front to access the control center, it'd be nice to have a whole dedicated page to just quickly swipe onto and maybe lower the brightness or lower the volume, raise the volume, take a quick snapshot, start a screen recording. See, that would be really nice. Another cool and interesting topic that I think might get released is the emergency satellite features that have been discussed for quite a while now. And of course, what is obligatory and what everyone else wants? New batch of emojis. I mean, come on, let's face it. We all love our emojis, and every time there's a new batch released, Twitter just goes crazy with the new ones. Aside from that, though, I really don't know what's in store for us on iPadOS and macOS. Those two I'm very excited for. So after the presentation, I will sure to update you guys on everything that is new. Now, moving on to number 3, and this is a product that's not very popular, but it's a product that I use almost daily, and I quite happen to enjoy it a lot. And I'm talking about the Pro Display XDR. So Apple just released their Studio display to go alongside with their Mac Studio. And it seems like that display is really popular, although it is a little bit on the pricey side. What really made me mad about the Pro XDR display, and it was quite funny looking at the presentation when it was announced, was that the Pro Display XDR came with the stand sold separately. That's right, the stand wasn't included. You had to buy the monitor, which was already expensive enough as it was at around $5,000. But then you had to go out and spend an additional $1,000 for the stinking stand. And it was really funny. During the presentation, there was a loud audible gasp by the audience that was present. It was hilarious. So the new Pro Display XDR might have very small improvements. It's still going to be that 6K resolution, but it may come with a brand new full mini LED backlight. This will allow it to have more dimming zones and just having the color accuracy be even more impressive. I am a photographer on the side, so I love editing my pictures on Photoshop on my Pro Display XDR just because I know that I'm getting the truest, most vivid colors possible. And if we get the improvements thanks to that mini LED technology, man, the Pro Display XDR is going to be on a whole new level. I just really hope Apple doesn't increase the price. It's already expensive as it is. It's really out of reach for most people. Which, going alongside, when I bought my Pro Display XDR, here is product release number 4 that I hope gets announced at WWDC, and that is a brand new Mac Pro. So here's my thing about the Mac Pro. I own one and I love it. It's modular, meaning that I can add and remove certain components to it at my leisure. So over the years, I've upgraded my RAM, I've also upgraded my SSD, I've added a brand new Radeon Pro graphics card, and all of this stuff is important to those individuals who have a very demanding workflow. Of course, people will say, oh, but it's overkill, all you do is make YouTube videos, and you'd be right. However, I like to know that the power is there because eventually I would like to get into the realm of 3D rendering, and I do also mine Dogecoin and Bitcoin on my Mac Pro. If you guys want to see a video on how I do that, just let me know in the comments below. But the almighty question is, what is going to be the power under the hood on that new Mac Pro? On Apple's new Mac Studio, they unveiled the M1 Ultra, which is already overkill for most people. As a matter of fact, the M1 Max found on the MacBook Pros have never gave me any stutters. It works like a charm, and I love the M1 Max found in my MacBook Pro, which is why I didn't upgrade to the Mac Studio because I really didn't see a need for it. So rumors point that the new Mac Pro might include 2 M1 Ultras fused together. So when the MacBook Pro 16-inch got updated, I really didn't think that the M1 Max, the top tier chip at the time, was not going to be bested for a while, at least a year or two. And then months later, Apple comes with the M1 Ultra option found inside the Mac Studio. So the question is, on this new Mac Pro, are they going to design a brand new chip? Probably not. Apple has actually come out and said that the M1 Ultra did complete the M1 family, according to them. So the M1 Ultra, essentially what it is 2 M1 Maxes fused together. So is Apple going to fuse 2 M1 Ultras, maybe 4 together? And what's it going to be called? Is it going to be called the M1 Ultra Duo? Who knows? I really hope that this product does get released. I am for sure going to be interested in it. I might have to get rid of my old Mac Pro to fund it, but we will just have to wait and see. The top specs are going to be monstrous. It's going to be a beast in its own category. Rumors have that it might go all the way up to a 40-core CPU, 128-core GPU for the most demanding tasks, and up to 256 gigabytes of onboard memory, which would be just insane. All right, and now getting into the exciting stuff, we may also finally see a new redesign to the MacBook Air. Now, this is the one that I'm really excited for. There's a ton of rumors out there. Is it gonna have the M1 chip? Are we finally gonna see the M2 chip? Who knows? What I know already is that the M1 is very capable on the existing MacBook Air. And besides, the MacBook Air, I still expect to come in at right around the $1,000 price point. Once again, it's very capable, but I do expect Apple to upgrade the chipset. I don't think they'll leave the same chip from one generation to the next, even though, like I said, the M1 is extremely capable. What is going to catch people's attention is going to be the rumored new color options that are going to be available for the MacBook Air, similar to the iMac 24-inch. As some of you guys know, I did review my yellow iMac 24-inch, and I am absolutely in love with it. It adds a nice bit of color to my living space, and it's just really awesome to look at. So there are a lot of renders, a lot of leaks, and a lot of rumors as to how they will appear. So it would be really interesting to have a multicolored array of options on the MacBook Airs, like purple options, yellow options, maybe even a red MacBook Air, And according to leaks and rumors, the keyboard is also set to be off-white, and it should feature that dual tone color design just like on the iMacs. So on the iMac 24-inch, you have a more predominant, stronger color, and then a more subtle, more muted, more pastel-like color. That way they play off each other quite well, and especially if it were to have a white keyboard. The bezels are also set to be off-white instead of black, and so that'd be interesting, as I don't really like white bezels, especially when I'm consuming content like watching Netflix or Hulu or something. That's just me though. Some people are wondering if there's going to be a notch on it like there is on the MacBook Pro 14 and 16-inch. I really have no clue why those things have a notch. Realistically, if you think about it, the notch is only present on the iPhone line because you need those Face ID sensors at the top. The MacBooks don't have Face ID, not even the Pros, so it's really highly unlikely that the cheaper MacBook Airs are going to feature Face ID when the Pro models don't. So if a notch is truly going to be featured on this new MacBook Air, it might just be to have the whole family of MacBooks just seem cohesive with all of them having a notch, aside from, of course, the 13-inch M1 MacBook Pro, which may or may not get discontinued soon. Which leads me to another point. Currently, the current M1 MacBook Air sits at 13 inches. So are we going to still see the same screen size, or are we going to see a screen enlargement to match that of the 14-inch MacBook Pro, or even larger than that? I doubt it would be larger. It would be cool to have a larger display on the newly redesigned MacBook Airs, but who knows, we'll just have to wait and see. And one last note, while still on the topic of the notch, Apple's FaceTime HD camera on the MacBook Air is still lagging behind from the other 1080p cameras found on the newer MacBook Pros. I don't think it'll hurt Apple's bottom line all too much to include a better camera on their MacBook Airs. Don't get me wrong, the FaceTime HD camera does the job just fine, but it would be cool to have features like Center Stage present on the new MacBook Air and at least bump up the camera quality to 1080p. That way the whole family of MacBook Pros all feature Center Stage as well as a 1080p camera. I give this a 80 to 90% likelihood of happening, given the fact that if you go to Apple's website right now, there are drastic delays on current MacBook Air models. Historically, this has pointed at new releases, but still, it may just be because of the current chip shortage and the ongoing war with Russia and Ukraine that are causing a ton of shipping delays. And lastly, the one that I am extremely hyped for, but unfortunately is unlikely to be released anytime soon, is Apple's very own VR headset. Now, my girlfriend owns an Oculus, and I absolutely am mesmerized by it every single time. So the Oculus is Meta's, otherwise known as Facebook, proprietary technology, and it's their first dabble into the metaverse. If you want me to be honest, this may be Apple's newest revolutionary product since the iPhone. We're coming to an age where virtual reality is just getting better and better, and a ton of companies are starting to dive into the metaverse because a lot of companies feel that that's where the future will be. And who can blame them? Think of all the individuals who would be able to take advantage of Apple's own VR headset and their own version of the metaverse. A few occupations that instantly come to mind. Think scientists, architects, surgeons. These are individuals who will be able to practice their occupation in augmented reality. How cool would it be for a surgeon to have a lifelike human being all through virtual reality practicing, I don't know, heart surgery? That's the stuff that we've dreamed of for years now, and it could soon be a possibility. Not only that, but just think about the social aspect of it. Everyone, and I mean just about every single person I know that is an avid iPhone lover, adores iMessage. And most of those people already have Memojis. Memojis came out not too long ago where you can have a personalized little caricature of your liking. You can customize it to however you want. So now imagine that. Let's take that concept of the Memoji and now transcend that into virtual and augmented reality, where you'll actually be able to go and interact with other individuals in Apple's own metaverse. This is just an exciting time to be alive. Whenever I use my girlfriend's Oculus, I mainly use it to enter poker rooms. Namely because, yes, I do like my gambling games. I like blackjack and poker, but my nearest poker room here in Georgia is about 45 minutes away. So that's an hour-and-a-half round trip just to play some poker. And even worse, the drive of shame back home when I lose is not pretty. So what better way to just lay in my bed, slap on Apple's VR headset, and I am in a poker room. Same can be said for other people who just want a social space to go and interact with other people, with other games, other social rooms, or other chat rooms, or whatever is your liking. Now at this moment we have no clue what the pricing will be like nor any of the specs. We don't even have a finalized design. All we can do is speculate, but like I said, Apple may hint at it at Apple's WWDC 2022, but it's really unlikely that it will be released. I'm giving this only a 5% likelihood of being released this year. It certainly will not be released at WWDC. We may just get an announcement, and most likely though, we may not see it until 2023. Possibly even 2024. But nonetheless, I'm really excited. Guys, so there you go. That's been 6 things that I am looking forward to. That doesn't mean that there's other items that may or may not be unveiled. Whatever the case is though, I will update you guys with a future video immediately following the presentation, so you guys are always in the loop. And if you guys want to see videos of me dissecting the newest updates found on iOS, watchOS, macOS, iPadOS, all of them, just let me know down in the comments below. And for sure, let me know what you are most excited for in the comment section. Like I mentioned at the very beginning, WWDC is interesting because it's not geared towards hardware. You have the September and October events, and also Apple traditionally hosts a March event. So WWDC is seen as that event for developers. But man, is this exciting. We may get a ton of new hardware, we might not get any of it. So as always guys, make sure to click that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and predictions on what will be announced at WWDC 2022. I cannot wait to catch you guys in the next one. As always, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll be catching you all real soon.